The very existence of Final Fantasy IX Remake is puzzling. We first found out about it during the GeForce Now leak, including such titles as Kingdom Hearts 4, Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster, and Final Fantasy IX Remake. Almost all of those games have been revealed by now. There are just two titles that we seemingly have no answer for. That of course being FF9R and Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster. Both games have leaked numerous times, both from journalists as well as more official sources like the Epic Game Store, which not too long ago not only leaked Final Fantasy IX Remake but also leaked pre-order incentives for the game. And today we just got a little bit more confirmation that this thing really does exist. So go ahead and lock in, because today we're going to be investigating what is going on with Final Fantasy IX Remake, and potentially that it could even be coming next year. But first, if you're a Marvel fan, you probably know all the big names: Spider-Man, Wolverine, Iron Man. But how well do you know the stories of Peggy Carter's Captain America or Joaquin Torres as Falcon? Our sponsor, Marvel Strike Force, lets you go even deeper into their backstories. And right now, you can download it with the link in the description below or by scanning my QR code. Marvel Strike Force throws you straight into battle to fight against threats like Doctor Doom and Apocalypse. Whether you want to lead the Avengers, the X-Men, or even a villain squad, the choice is yours. So my favorite hero will always and forever be Spider-Man. You guys know how much I love team building in RPGs, and Marvel Strike Force takes it to another level with synergy-driven combat. Putting together the right mix of heroes and villains isn't just about power, it's about strategy, where the right team composition can completely change the flow of battle. And personally, I think this is one of the most enjoyable aspects of the game. And here's where things get even better. Right now, Marvel Strike Force is giving away free characters. This month, you can unlock the brand new Liberty team, featuring Peggy Carter, Joaquin Torres as Falcon, Patriot, and Captain America Sam. So download Marvel Strike Force for free using the link in the description below or the QR code on screen. Start building your dream team, claim free characters, and jump into battle now. So reliable industry insider Nate the Hate recently commented on Twitter about Final Fantasy IX Remake. He was asked, "Hello, Mr. Hate, appreciate all the Lord's work that you do. Just curious, have you heard anything about Final Fantasy IX Remake or Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster? Thank you." Nate replying, "Both remain in active development. Final Fantasy IX Remake isn't expected to see release in 2025. We'll see launch in 2026. This is getting absolutely crazy, but at least we know now that the game is not going to release this year, but at the very least, it may get announced this year and be slated for next year. When looking at Square Enix's list of upcoming games, things are currently not looking too hot. There is not a whole lot of stuff on their upcoming games list. In fact, all they have announced for 2025 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for PC, and we've already seen that, and Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD. Thus far, it is seeming like one of the more empty years that Square Enix has had in recent memory. There is one big event happening, and I could see Final Fantasy IX Remake as well being announced there. That is, of course, the Switch 2 reveal. With the reveal of the Switch 2, it would simply make sense if Square Enix was going to announce a bunch of games, given how popular the device is in Japan. And considering that right now they are focused on this multi-platform strategy, it would make sense to reveal that Final Fantasy IX Remake is coming to Switch 2. And perhaps the holdup for announcing the game just has been that they are waiting for the Switch 2 to be announced. They want this to be a headliner game for the Switch 2. That to me would make perfect sense, and I would imagine is the holdup. Now bear in mind, there were rumors not too long ago that Final Fantasy IX had been given to an external studio, and that external studio didn't necessarily do as good of a job and they had to bring it back in-house. We don't know for certain if those rumors are true, but it would certainly explain why the game has leaked so many times, probably because they thought the game was coming out earlier than it would. Secondly, this is not the first time that this has ever happened with Square. It is easy now to think of the Final Fantasy VII re-trilogy as the most top-of-the-line Square Enix quality, in a game that could only be developed in-house. Except when the game was initially announced, it wasn't going to be a Square Enix internal title. They were going to have CyberConnect 2 developing FF7R, which is just absolutely bonkers in the way that we think of FF7 7 are now. To think that Square Enix would trust one of the most sensitive remakes that they could ever make, one of the most sensitive games they could ever make, CyberConnect 2, pretty insane. But that is exactly what they did, and unfortunately, the partnership did not work out. This resulted in Square Enix firing CyberConnect 2 off of the project, and Square Enix's internal Creative Studio 1 having to finish the project. And I oftentimes think because Creative Studio 1 was initially going to be working on something else, right? That's why they outsourced Final Fantasy VII Remake. But now I think, what did Creative Studio 1 delay? Was that going to be Final Fantasy 17 that they were going to be working on internally? And then that had to get pushed back for Final Fantasy VII Remake to get brought back in-house? And I also wonder that a lot too with Final Fantasy IX Remake, right? They have some external studio working on this, and then they had to pull it back in. Again, according to the rumors, we don't know for sure if that's true, but if it is, you know, someone inside of Square, maybe Creative Studio 3, was working on something, and that probably had to get pushed aside for, you know, making Final Fantasy IX Remake. It is easy to think of remakes as something that could potentially be developed externally just because there is already a blueprint for what the game should look and play and be like. And sometimes that works in the case of games that are made by Bluepoint, Demon's Souls. It seems like Konami had some success with Bloober and Silent Hill 2 Remake. But yeah, this hasn't been too successful of a thing for Square Enix. I don't know, maybe Bluepoint should have been making Final Fantasy IX Remake instead of that God of War service game or whatever they were working on. But I digress. He was also asked, so for the Final Fantasy Tactics remaster, the release is 2025, not that I've heard. Hopefully we can at least get an announcement again for Final Fantasy Tactics Remaster. I am really curious about what's going on with that game. It kind of makes me wonder, is it going to be a lot more than just a remaster in the way that we think of remasters? Are they really doing some in-depth work to that game to make it like truly the definitive version of it? I genuinely hope so, and I think that's probably what they're doing. That game has been rumored for a long time now. I don't really know what the holdup is, but that would be the thing that pretty much explains it to me. And again, I think that's going to be a really strong AA seller for Square Enix, something that they probably need right now. So hopefully at the very least, we see or hear about Tactics Remaster sometime this year. As I think if we are going to have a slow year, having Tactics Remaster in there to fill the gap would be absolutely perfect and would keep the Final Fantasy momentum and hype alive. Now recently, there have been rumors that a remaster of Final Fantasy 15 could be coming. I made a video about this, not because I thought it was true, I still don't think it's actually happening, but because I desperately hope that it reaches Square Enix's ears and actually does come true. Unfortunately, according to Nate, he hasn't heard anything about it, with him being asked, have you heard anything about the rumored Final Fantasy 15 remaster? That's a Square Enix remaster that I have not heard of. So unfortunately, this lowers the likelihood of Final Fantasy 15 remaster existing, at least for now. And I think that's fine because I think they have Final Fantasy 13 to focus on first. That game also, in its own way, needs a lot of overhauls. I am not talking about graphics, but I'm hoping for a very big Crisis Core Reunion style upgrade where many aspects of the mechanics and the overall game flow are tweaked to make the experience much better than what it originally was. Allow me to switch party members mid-battle. Unlock the Crystarium from the start and unlock all the roles from the start. There are so many small things that a Final Fantasy 13 remaster could do that could make that game shine in a way that the original version just didn't. And so as someone critical of both of those games, I would love for them to have a second opportunity to really shine and live up to their fullest potential. So yeah, hopefully Final Fantasy 13 and 15 remaster both happen at some point in time and greatly improve on the experiences that happen with those games. Of course, we can't forget that there is supposed to be a Final Fantasy IX anime coming. And I haven't talked about this in a video yet, we've talked about it on stream, but as it relates to the most recent news, you know, the Final Fantasy IX anime is probably going through a little bit of trouble too, because Cybergroup Studios has been going through some financial trouble as well, and it just makes you wonder what's going on with the anime that was announced a while back. So this dates back to October, but essentially what it says here is that the company was facing some financial difficulties and that the studio's total equity had dropped below 50% of its share capital, with it saying here French law requires a business to take steps when its equity falls below 50% of its share capital. These measures could include holding a general meeting of executives to discuss the company's financial state and decide on corrective action. plan, such as reducing the share of capital to match the current equity, increasing the equity through capital contributions, liquidating non-essential assets, or restructuring the company, she says. Cyber Group has reportedly cut 20 of its roughly 150 staffers. Kidscreen reached out to key executives at the company for comment, but these requests were declined. So yeah guys, Final Fantasy IX Remake is nowhere to be seen. It is confirmed to still be in development somewhere, and hopefully it's coming next year, but we don't have any confirmation of that. And it seems like the production company behind Final Fantasy IX Remake is also really going through it. So we can only hope that the Final Fantasy IX anime isn't going to be canned. Hopefully the game is coming, and hopefully it's coming in the best shape and form possible. But let me know your thoughts about Final Fantasy IX Remake in the comments below. Be sure to check out Marvel Strike Force with the link in the description, and I'll see you all in the next video. Later guys.